today I'm going to indeed talk about the Cosmos SDK core file, let's say, the file that really defines your application, that wire everything to make your chain working, which is called app.go. So who I am, as Stanley introduced me, I'm the developer relation for the Cosmos SDK. I started in March 2022 of this year at Interchain GmbH, which is the company with Julien that is developing the Cosmos SDK. And I'm just French and I'm living in the Netherlands currently. I posted GitHub and Discord, so if you have any question afterwards and you want to reach me directly, you can just send me a message via Discord. So Billy explained you last week what is the Cosmos SDK, so I won't go too long on this, but to just summarize, indeed, the Cosmos SDK is just a software development kit that allows you to build application-specific blockchains, which means that you have your blockchains that is really an application that you can really define what are the capability, what are the features, and the SDK abstracts things so you can launch your blockchain faster. The Cosmos SDK uses as well Tendermint, which is the consensus layer, and which means the Cosmos SDK as well implement the ABCI interface, the application blockchain interface, to be able to talk to Tendermint, so that you don't have to. So that means you can just, with the SDK, get ready and only build directly your chain without having to worry about the consensus, without having to worry about other details. So that's why we provide out of the box a few modules. For instance, the most known modules are the Auth, Bank, Gov, Staking, Mint. Basically, they provide basic functionalities for your chain, which is like the authentication. The Auth module will allow for verifying signatures and be able to send transactions. The Bank module is just allow transfer, token transfer functionality. So basically, when you want to send a token to another address, you'll be able to do that. As you know, most of the Cosmos SDK chains have as well governance. This is because the Cosmos SDK include directly a governance module, which allows you via a governance proposal to just have governance with your community. You can make text proposal to ask question, or you can directly upgrade the chain from all its validator via a proposal. The staking module implements just basically the proof of stake capabilities, so you can become a validator, delegate to a validator, and as you know, there is always inflation to the token of a chain. So the Mint module will allow you to do that. There is many other modules. I won't go over all of them. You are able to quickly see that via this link, which will list all the modules of the SDK. Maybe I could, not sure, maybe it would be nice. I'm going to paste the link I have directly in the chat so you can easily go to it. Marco, the product lead of the Cosmos SDK, had a good introduction for the SDK in general, which we won't talk about here. We'll only stay and talk about the app.go file. So if you wish to learn more in general about the SDK, quickly how ABCI talks, what ABCI helps you, what base app is, etc., I invite you to watch a half-an-hour video from Marco. So what is the architecture of a usual Cosmos blockchain? That's stole this slide from Billy's presentation. Basically, I think you recognize this. So this is basically, you have the app.go, which will be where you will be able to wire all your modules, all your stores, all your modules, and you'll be able to add your custom modules that you've developed for your own chain. Next to that, you obviously have clients, because you want to be able to interact with this with your chain, whether it is via CLI to type your chain TX transaction module name / a comment you have, or via gRPC or REST API. But enough of that talking now. as I've said, we will focus on the app.go in general. So I will leave out the how to build a module, or to have create clients. You will actually learn that in the academy. So if not already, I'm not sure, but you will definitely learn that by following the academy. So there is no point of me to really focus on that. So there will be a focus on the app.go. So basically, what does app.go? It creates the app structure, which is let's say the object, the struct in Go, that will be able to from which you'll be able to start a chain, and you'll be able to yeah, that will define basically your chain. This implements, as I've said, the ABCI front element, the ABCI interface, which is what we call within the Cosmos SDK base app. So this is a layer of abstraction so that you don't have to worry about ABCI at all. It defines all the modules, the keepers you want to have. It sets all the stores, and it wires all the module together, and some configuration that are not defined via the genesis of your governance later. So I'm just going to quickly do a walkthrough. Here it is. I'm just basically what I'm going to do today is walk you through this file, explain a bit why things are there, why you need it, what are pitfalls, and with a quick demo. So what I did is, I know you guys are using Ignite, which when you scaffold something will generate you a big file like this, I feel like. Yeah. Is it better? Whoa, maybe it's a bit too big. Fine. You will, all right. You will know this long file of keepers being initiated and configurations. So it can be a bit scary at first. You might be like, what is all that? What does it do? So I actually will not start from the Ignite default. I will actually skim it down for the presentation to have what is really the base, to have a base working chain. This is Gaia, we don't want that. All right. So let's skip the imports because, yeah, your editor will usually import that automatically for you. So let's start. You have a few, they find a few variables. I'll come back to a few later. Default node is not super relevant. Oh, it's just relevant, but this will basically help to create the configuration folder, define the configuration folder of your app. So usually you have it there, but nothing very interesting here. Module basic. This is every module implements the app module basic interface, which is an interface that will allow you to register the interface of your module. That will register the codecs of your module for serialization, deserialization, and as well the queries and the transactions. And what you are doing here is basically you will create a basic manager of all the module you want for your chain. So that, and basically what basic manager does, it will call all those, it will call the function of app module basic one by module per module, so that you don't have to initialize all your modules directly. I'll come back to this later. Let's start here. So this is the structure of your application. As you see, you have basically base app. So you want your application to implement the base app interface. So you will have as well the codecs for your application, which is legacy amino, which is the old amino codecs that were used for serialization, deserialization, and This is legacy because we deprecated that, and now we're using protobuf. But for signing, for instance, we still need to use this this codec. Now we will define here the two stores we'll use for our modules, and we have as well the keeper we want to use for module we'll define here. So note that we have exactly the same amount of keeper, that we have the same amount of module. This is something important that you actually you have to watch out, that you actually have all the that you verify that all modules, every time you instantiate, every time you want to add a keeper, that you actually have the module in the basic manager. I will explain that later, and I will explain this a bit later. So let's create our mini app. So we want to basically first define a few things for base app. For instance, we will create, we will want to set the version, which will be overrated when you build your application. We as well want to say the interface registry, which you get, which you have by which you have by default created by Ignite. And what it does is, where is it? What it does is it basically make a default locally config with default good value for serialization of on all the module talks. And now let's get to actually the interesting part, which is let me do it. Can you still see properly? Okay. Which is the initialization of the keepers. So you have to actually do that manually, and you have to do it in the correct order. So every keepers, you want to initialize them with the proper variables. So this is pretty easy. You know that you give the app codec, you give a few types that you need to, but it's pretty easy. You just need to check which type is actually wanted. And now let's go to the Mac permission. This is because you want every module's account must have the permission, for instance, to mint or to burn token or to stake token. And by default, they don't have those permission. So you have to think that the mint module should have the permission to mint, because it's a module that actually mint things. And you want your staking module to be able to burn validators, to burn delegators in case of bad behavior of a validator. So then you just do that. You instantiate your keeper one by one, and then you have to really watch out of the order. For instance, you do not want to have your editor will not help you, but you want to watch out that every keeper you use are instantiated before you actually set it. So here, the order really matters. You really need to have the host keeper before instantiated before you instantiate the bank keeper. Otherwise, you'll get issues. So let's go now. Now that you have instantiated all your keeper, what does the module manager? You only have the keeper, but the module is just more than a keeper. So you need to create all the modules, and you will use those keepers for using the new app module function constructor. So basically, you will okay. I will just stop notification. Keep getting distracted. Okay. All right. You want as well to have, again, your 6 module you define above to be here. So you really have to verify that every module are instantiated. And then you want to put it in the correct order, and you're going to ask me, what is the order actually of a module? How do I know in which order I want to put it? Well, you have to think of what what the module requires. For instance, here you do not want to have as explained here, you do not want to have the slashing before. Where is slashing? Actually, we don't have slashing in this application. Let me have it here. Where is it? Okay. Here is it. Here you do want to have the slashing after, because you want the token to be you want to slash the correct amount of token for an account. And then there is a few things that you'll need. For instance, for testing, you want to register exactly the same way you have register your module here for the simulation. So for your test, for your test, you'll be able to replicate the chain directly in your test. And then you want to finish up the base app and you want to finish up the base app instantiation by defining a few functions to do what happened when you need a chain for a being blocker and an blocker and an anti-handler. And an anti-handler is basically something that will enrich. This is something that is called every time you have a check TS or deliver TX to help verify a transaction. So basically what it does here, it calls the module manager, and it will call the begging blocker of every module. So you've set for base app at every bending block, it will call this function, and the module manager will basically loop through all the module in the order you have defined and call their own begging block. And you have the same for the end block. It will loop through to the order you have defined, and it will call the end block of your own module. So now a few functions here are only necessary for testing. For instance, this you don't really need it for simply having a chain work, but you will want to have that if you want to verify that, for instance, you're actually setting properly the permission, and you know that when you have your chain working, you will not encounter a problem. Let's say you forgot. You want to verify in your test, for instance, that all the permissions are properly set, and you don't realize that, for instance, your mint account is not able to mint any new token. But what I'm going to do now is quickly show you a few drawbacks, and then I will. So basically, you have. We have now a new chain that is being built, and we're going to quickly test a few things and see what happens if you actually do something wrong with the order, or with or you forget something. Here, this is just a small script that basically instantiates configure the chain. So I don't have to do it manually. I think the tutorial explains you to that. Just a script to make it directly done. So that's your question. Can we manually modify the Go created by Ignite? I do believe so. Yes, you can. You can do that. I believe in Ignite they have a few those line here, a line you should not remove because this is what they use for when you scaffold your module to add it directly and you have that go. Eventually, when you have a chain, it will just eventually grow out of Ignite. So there is a moment where you will not want to use Ignite or cannot use Ignite, and then you have to add all of this manually in your app.go. But I'm just going to start my chain that has only 5 modules, I believe, 6 modules. So it doesn't do much, but this is just for demonstration purposes. Okay, my chain is started. Let me just, I created 2 accounts. Let me just here. Okay. Now, let's say basic thing, I will want to just from send a transaction from Alice to Bob. So this will just of 10 mini. Oopsie. I will sign my transaction. It goes well. I will. I'm able to query the transaction and see that everything. The transaction can be broadcasted, and I'm going to see if there is any issue with it. So we see here that code 0. So there is there were any error, and my my transaction has been fully included. And we can quickly check that by Bob query. Having 110 mini instead of a Genesis, he had only 1010. He had only 1000. But now the interesting part is what happened if I actually reverse, actually do something wrong here. How can I know? How I can see what is wrong? So, for instance, I have just want to explain. Let me actually do that. I just swipe out. You actually do something on this. So actually just swipe out those 2 modules, and I have basically a nil app account keeper. The editor doesn't give any error, as you can see. It will. This is valid Go code. You just have a nil account keeper, and so it will just, your chain will just build. It will have you'll have any issues there. It will build, and it will as well start because yeah, there is nothing wrong. You just have an issue that when bank will want to do something, it won't have access to the account keeper. So you can see already an error, customer failure, module account min doesn't exist, which means that the bank want to have access to the mint keeper, but it doesn't have access to any account. It doesn't have access to any account, so it cannot see the mint keeper, the mint account, mint module, sorry. But further than that, also than that, it will still you will know that that you have actually swiped out, because here you'll see in the stack trace. All right. Where is it? This is okay. Well, you actually can't find, but you will see in the start trace that it cannot find the address of the module, and then you can realize that, oh, this comes from the bank keeper, and my bank keeper, oh, here it is, and my bank keeper doesn't have access to the account, so you have to look at your keeper's calls and verify that everything is done properly. Let's have another common error, which is, for instance, you forgot to instantiate your module basic here. So basically, the deserialization of the all those calls will not be registered for your modules. And in that case, what we have removed is the auth module. So basically, we won't be able to to sign any transaction. So again, there is no issue. The chain builds properly, and the chain as well will start properly. Oh. Actually, it will not start. It will have started properly, but now I have done a GAN-TX, which will make it not start properly, because we didn't have defined the address of Cosmos auth VN beta base account is not registered. So basically, the basic manager will have called register interface, which was register this endpoint, but because we forgot it we didn't register the module basic, we don't have the pass register. So if you encounter this error, this means that you forgot to add your module here. But now, let me go back to this. This was a quick walk. I didn't explain very much, but I want to just say that it is very declarative, and there is no magic involved, but this is a bit error prone, because if you don't know how modules interact with each other, even if they are core modules, you can easily make a mistake, forget have a nil pointer somewhere, or forget to instantiate your module in general, because as you see, you have to repeatedly do it. But the SDK team came up with something new, which is called iPwiring, and this is what I'm going to show you now, and that will eventually help you to don't have to deal with all that app.go thing. So this, I don't think it's available for you for the Academy, because you're using 046. But the next release coming very soon, we will have, and you get to see that now, something called dep inject, and this is a dependency injection framework. This will, for you, automatically do in the correct order, instantiate all the modules, all the keeper and all the modules you want in your app. So this is app.go. So this is basically the same app.go we've seen, pretty long because we have more modules. This is sim app. You can see the same thing as before, the order, the simulation manager again, and all that logic, and as well all the keepers. And when you have more modules, you have as well more keeper to instantiate, and then that means that you increases the chance that you make a mistake just swiping a keeper with another. Doesn't immediately tells you what's wrong. And now this is the new way we can do that. And as you see, firstly, the file is way shorter, but what you have is still the module basic, which will still define basically all the modules you want in your chain, auth, bank, mint, as we just seen. And thanks to something called dep inject in the configuration chart I will show you, you will be able to have instantiate all your keeper, the interface registry, all the codec we've seen about, the codec and the type we've seen before, and all your keeper will be able to just instantiate it auto-magically, let's say, thanks to dep inject, and you will be able to just build your application thanks to build your application, and then all your keeper and module will be properly instantiated. And as you see, what's left to do is only some configuration. The upgrade mode we didn't talk about. That can be done with configuration, and just the order. Although you can still set the order in the configuration, but sometimes you just want to set the order here, and that's it. Then obviously there is still basic stuff to be done, like mounting the stores, and this is for the simulation. You want to have the same order, but that's it. And so what makes you go from this to this? It is basically a configuration file where you will be able to define your modules and the configuration of those modules to be injected. So instead of having to instantiate manually, you will basically say, I want this module with this configuration I will show after, and it will be basically use the proper configuration from the module itself to be able to create it. So let's have a module which has actually configuration. The group module, for instance, you want to define metadata. There is a tutorial about that, which has a maximum length of 255 bytes. So you will be able to set your configuration directly in this configuration file, and then it will be automatically create your keeper with the right configuration. While before, you would have had to create a configuration directly here, and if you did before or after, it could have posed problem. So how does this work? Example in the NFC module, which is in 046, which is a new module. What you have to do if you want to create, let me actually start with that. What you want to do to define your module, you know the profile you have to define for the message of your module. Well, now you can just quickly have an option that will allow you to just create the basic configuration of your module. So here, the NFT module have no configuration, but for instance, for the group module, you want a max duration period of which is a duration, and you want the max meta length, which is a number, which uint 64 in that case. And then we will be able to generate the profile corresponding to this configuration, and the profile of this configuration will this is generated file, and you will be able basically to set the configuration of that module. And what it will do then is when you will you have to define for dep inject in your own module what happened when I'm being created. So here, you basically, this is to the module developer, so we've done that for every module in the SDK. So this is why dep inject can do the magic for a chain developer. But if you want to have your module compatible with dep inject, what you need to do is basically say, hey, this is what my module needs, and this is what my module returns. So a module returns, as you know, the app module and the app module basic, and it return as well the keeper. And what it takes in is all of this. So depencheck will do a thing and provide everything that is needed. From here, we'll basically inject all those fields, and you will be able to instantiate here your keeper, create your module, and return that. And basically, here what happened is depencheck will know, thanks to the inputs and the output, how to inject properly all those modules and all those keepers. And here, this is basically what we will do for building the application. So that was a bit of sneak peek of what's going to happen. This is obviously, still possible to do it the old way. Some chain will want to keep doing the old way because it's more declarative. But if you're learning and if you just don't want to have to care about, all of this and remove this error-prone, I see your hand. I will just finish this, and then I will open a question because I'm actually done. If you don't want to have to initiate it yourself and have to define the configuration yourself, there you can just have your app config and it will do that for you. So that was it. That was my presentation. As you've seen, we went quickly through the basic thing. This is definitely not a presentation that went deep into some concepts. You will learn that in the academy. So if you have any question, please tell me. So I see someone has raised his hand. Would you want to see a question?
Sure. May I go ahead?
Yeah, sure.
So I have a couple of questions. First of all, thank you, Julien, for the amazing session, and thank you for giving the sneak peek into the next version of Cosmos SDK. So my first question is that, other than making app.go better and more organized, what benefits does the introduction of dependency injection bring for most people? Because my assumption is that most people will be using Ignite CLI for generating it, and as of right now, in the current implementation of app.go, Ignite CLI handles it very well. If I'm not, like, with what my experience has been, it's pretty smooth. So yeah, what other benefits does it bring?
Well, basically, what Ignite CLI doesn't do, as far as I know, is when you have your own module and you have, for instance, configuration for this module, you will be able, for instance, to have a module with all the configuration. So you have basically your profile, which will define the configuration of all of your module directly, and someone that will want to use your module will easily be able to define the configuration he wants for this module, without having to care about any order or anything like that. So I don't believe that Ignite CLI solved the other problem. Let's say that you create a module that needs a module that is not instantiated yet. It will just add it where the scaffolding line is, and you won't have fixed this other problem. So this does that for you.
Okay, got it. So I guess in a way, then, just like we have packages for Go, we could perhaps someday have a store for modules, or that we have for Cosmos SDK. I do have a second question. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Yeah, please go on.
Oh,
You were saying something?
I was about to say there were indeed an idea eventually to have something called Atlas, which will be a package manager for modules, but this is not in the work yet. But
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like a nice thing to have for the future. I do have a second question that may not be very relevant to what we study today, but I saw references to something called the interface registry. And while I do understand what keepers and all those things do, I would like to know more about interface registry.
basically, the interface registry is define the path of a message you want to access for a keeper. For instance, you have let me actually show you easily. Where is it? Let going to use this. So basically, this is, as you see, an interface, and you will be able to register messages from your module. So the bank has, for instance, the message send message, and you want to say when you access this path, you will this is the implementation of this path. So when you will be able, for instance, for governance proposal, when you precise the Cosmos dot the path of the message you want to call, it will allow us to know. You will allow your chain to know what do I need to which function do I need to call for that. So in the case of message send, you will be able from the cosmos.bank/v1 beta1.messagesend, you will know that it has to use the message send function from the back module with the correct attributes.
Got it. Thanks, Julien. These are all the questions I have today.
Okay. Has anyone else another question? No, if not, then thank you very much for attending, and advise you. There is, I don't know if you know, there is the Cosmoverse live stream, and with kind of cool, interesting thing happening in the Cosmos space. I will invite you to watch it. This is interesting conference.